Okay, do another video. This is going to be my vinyl pickups for October 2017. I'm going to do this one slightly different. I'm going to do a top 10 of the my 10 favorite records that I bought, or the kind of like the 10 best records I bought in the month of October 2017. And then for the rest of the records, I'm just going to kind of show them quickly. And this is for the hard rock section of, or genre of records that I bought. And I guess let's get started. The first one is a compilation called Move Into the Villa Villa Kula. And this is a compilation that came out in 1994. I actually used to have this back in 94, 95 when it came out. I had, there's actually one with a silver cover, you know, kind of like a foil silver color with, I believe, orange writing on it. But I saw this shown on an Instagram post for Lunchbox. And I was like, holy shit, I can't believe that you know, it showed up used. So I ran up there, you know, I kind of hoped they would still have it, and you know, picked it up. It has some really good songs on here. It has 3 songs, I believe 3 songs from Sleater-Kinney that were never released. You Ain't It, Write Me Back Fucker, and More Than a Feeling. There's a couple songs from Kaya on here, Peyton versus Your Boyfriend and Off. And my favorite song on here is by a band called Tattletale. They have 2 songs on here, one called Take 10 and Erica. And they're both just like acoustic songs. And Take 10 is just such a great, great song. It has such a great melody to it. And it's just such a good, memorable song. There's a band on here called Ruby Falls, and there's 2 songs, Spanish Olive and The Way of Colleen. Both those songs are great. And then there's Azalea Snail, Possibly, and Vitrolic Feeling. And then there's some I guess slam poetry, or kind of poetry, spoken word from Eileen Miles, and those are pretty interesting too. But yeah, this is kind of like a Riot Girl, kind of punk rock Riot Girl release, came out around that time. And there's an article in here on the insert that is in reference to, I guess, a murder that happened, a woman who got murdered by her husband, and didn't get any time in jail because the guy killed her because he was jealous. She was having an affair, and yeah, the judge let him off. So it's just kind of like a, you know, a woman's life is worth less than the jealousy of a man, which is kind of fucked up that stuff happened. You know, it is what it is, and I mean, it's not really is what it is, but it happened, and you know, these are types of things that, you know, the type of history that we need to recognize as a country, at least the United States country, but really across the world. And that's they had custom labels. It's kind of like almost a Kill Rock Star type label there. But yeah, this is a really, really cool comp. It's probably most wanted for the Sleater-Kinney songs. But like I said, those Tattletale songs are really good. And even the Ruby Falls, I really like that band as well. And yeah, this came out in 1994, and this is number 10 of the, you know, I guess coolest, or, you know, top 10 of the best records that I bought in the month of October. Put this back in the sleeve. The number 9 album is an interesting album. It was actually given to me as a gift. Guy I work with, we kind of started collecting records at the same time in 2016, 2017. And he buys a lot less than I do, but he thought I'd be interested in this. And this is the number 9 record. And this is the, it's a concept album that came out in 1978. And it's the Jeff Wayne's musical version of War of the Worlds. And it has kind of like a gatefold cover. And it also has like a gatefold insert with some really cool art there of the Martians landing in a town. And this album is interesting. It's kind of like a disco kind of concept record, and because it came out in '78, so you know that type of music was, and it has all the lyrics here, so you can follow along with the story, and the art in here is really cool. It depicts, you know, has depictions of all the songs, and it does a real good job of conveying kind of the story. You know, you can see people fighting the Martians. That's kind of a future picture. And then this is them being killed. Yeah, and this record is kind of has a couple unique things. There's two singers on here that are of kind of note. Richard Burton, who's an actor, does the narration of all the, you know, there's like kind of like these interludes of parts of the songs where just he kind of pops in and does this kind of narration over the music. But also the guy, is it Justin? Yeah, Justin Hayward from the Moody Blues does some vocals on a couple songs, and most notably is Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy does a whole song on here, which I thought was really good, really cool. If you kind of like, you know, I enjoy kind of disco a bit, and this kind of it's a unique album. This album sold like tons and tons in the UK. Like it sold like 2.5 million copies, you know, when it was released, and then over time it sold up to 15 million. So this thing is just like, you know, it's incredibly popular in the UK specifically, or at least more so. And it's been, you know, there's been concerts that have been done since then with the, you know, with, you know, having a live concerts that were done, you know, playing the whole album. This was one of the, this is also kind of significant for being one of the first albums to use 48 tracks to record the music with. And at the time, they were limited to 24 track, you know, machines, you know, like the boards. So what they had to do is they had to connect two 24 track machines together so that they could kind of combine all 48 tracks and make it, you know, put the layers and layers and layers on top of everything. So yeah, it's interesting for that. Yeah, that's about it. But it's kind of a cool record. You definitely have to, you have to be able to tolerate the disco parts because it kind of has that, what I guess a musician would call like a four on the floor kind of beats. You know, it has the kind of beats of disco, and it has some of that electronics in it, and it's definitely that late 70s vibe. Um, it does have rock elements, so it's really not, it's kind of not a rock opera, it's more like a pop opera kind of, but it's a really interesting listen. It's a fun listen. It is a cool record. I do like it, and it is my ninth favorite record that I bought in October of 2017. Here, I'll just show you one of the records. And this version of this has two albums, and if you can see, this one has side one, but then this side is side 4. So this album was meant to be played on a record changer. So, you know, if you had, you could stack the records on the spindle, and then this one would drop, and then it would play side 1, and then the second record would drop and play side 2. And then you could flip them over, and then this one would drop, play side 3, and the next one would drop and play side 4. So that's, or would be the opposite. But yeah, so that's how these records were played back in the 70s. So you know this is an original press, or at least a very early press, because it has, you know, that's just, you know, that was unique for record changers. And it's kind of maybe a little bit of a pain in the butt now, you know, that I have to swap the records 3 times, but it really doesn't bother me that much because the music, you know, there's enough music on each side, about 20 minutes of music or so on each side, so you're not flipping too frequently, at least not like you can, you know. I really hate these new audiophile pressings where they only put 3 songs. That's like 15 minutes or less sometimes of songs on one side of an album. I really, really don't like that. I don't think that is, I think that's overkill for an audiophile press. Just me. The 8th best record that I bought came out September 7th, 1973. And it's one of 2 Frank Zappa records that I own. This is Frank Zappa and the Mothers, and this is Overnight Sensation. This album cover is crazy. You know, it's kind of like the Somewhere in Time album cover from Iron Maiden, where there's just so much stuff on here that you could just, you know, there's lots of details that you can look at. And it's all kind of gross and disgusting stuff in here. Yeah, there's like corn going into a guy's ass, you know, all kinds of crazy stuff that you can find in here. All kinds of stuff that you would, I guess, expect from Frank Zappa. And this record, it's kind of a rock record, but it also has like jazzy elements. You know, it has interesting musicians. You know, it has a trombone player, a marimba player, flute, clarinet, sax, you know, so there's a lot of that type of instrumentation on here, but there still is kind of a rock element to it. And the song, what's kind of the lyrics on this is, there's some weird stuff, man. The Frank Zappa was a crazy, crazy guy. This is probably one of the more accessible Frank Zappa stuff that you could probably get. You know, I don't have tons. I have the other Zappa I have is Apostrophe, and my understanding is between these two, these are probably the most accessible ones that you can probably get into. Apostrophe probably more so. Apostrophe I think is a little bit more rock oriented. This has a little bit more of the jazzy elements, but there's also some backup vocals, and I heard about this record through Shabby Road Record Show podcast, and my understanding is that there's some backup vocals on here from the backup vocals that are on here are from a couple of the backup vocalists from Tina and Ike Turner's band at the time, and they kind of Zappa wanted to use them, but they didn't want to be credited, so they're actually not credited on this record. I don't think, you know, that they're actually credited on here at all. At least I didn't see it, and it's on his Discreet label. That I believe that was Zappa's label. I don't think there's any other bands besides Zappa type bands on that label. So this is the number 8. This is definitely one of the more interesting records that I bought. But yeah, it's a fun listen. I did listen to it again because I was just, you know, I don't pull this out often. Yeah, if you want to try a song on here, I would try Zombie Wolf. That's kind of an interesting song to start with. But yeah, that's the number 8. The 7th favorite album that I bought came out August 25th, 1976, and it's the first studio album from the band Boston. So I think everybody has this in their collection. There's stories on the back if you want to read it. Every single song on here, if it wasn't released as a single, radio stations played, at least especially in Detroit. I had heard all these songs before I ever bought this record off the radio. So it's just a hugely popular record. It is a really good record, and you know, it could go higher on the list. It's just that I've heard it so many times, and you know, this copy's, you know, obviously the cover isn't great. I might have even got this in a dollar bin. I can't remember, but the copy is really good. It's clean. It sounds really good. But it's just not a record I pull out very often because I've heard it a billion times on the radio and over the years, and before I even had it in my collection. you know, I think I listened to this record just a couple times since I bought it. But it is a fantastic record. It's a great, you know, hard rock FM radio record. This is the kind of stuff, honestly, like you listen to newer Ghost, like the last two records from Ghost. This is kind of what they're going for, man. They really are. They're going for this FM rock, accessible, you know, radio friendly kind of music. And, you know, it's not the same thing. You know, obviously Ghost is a little bit darker with the lyrics and stuff like that. But if you really take kind of a one-to-one with what's happening on this album, as far as musically, you can apply it to what Ghost is doing. Like, and I like Ghost still for that, but I know a lot of people are turned off from that and they want Ghost to be more dark and heavy. But I think it's interesting what Ghost is doing. They're an arena rock band right now, and they're doing what Kiss did as far as, you know, stage presence, but musically they're doing stuff like what FM rock radio, like Journey in Boston, you know. I hear a lot of that in the new Ghost. Going off on a tangent about Ghost. All right, so this is the number 6 album, and this came out January 10th, 1979. And this is Triumph with Just a Game. This is a really cool album. Really cool hard rock record. Another radio, a record that has radio, you know, FM radio play. And it actually has a little board game you can play. It's kind of a roll and move. So you just roll a 6-sided dice. You move whatever you want to put on the board, and you just do with the, you know, you're supposed to get to the center where you can triumph and win the game. But there's all kinds of obstacles that get in the way. So it's just completely random what happens. There's no real game, no real strategy involved. But this album has the song called Lay It on the Line. And Lay It on the Line was, when I was a kid, I think I talked about this before. I don't know if anybody's watching these videos. So anyway, but I talked about this before. I had a cassette called White Hot. And it was my first cassette that I owned when I was a kid that my mom bought me. She bought me that, and she bought me a cassette with a bunch of oldies on it. But this song was on White Hot, Lay It on the Line, and it's such a good song. And it was one of the first, you know, I guess you consider this heavy metal, but it's more hard rock. But yeah, it was on that White Hot sound compilation from K-Tel. Just a Game, really good album. Some really good songs on here other than that, you know. Obviously, that song, Lay It on the Line, is the best song on here, probably. It's the hit. But I can listen. I listen to this, and yeah, there's some really good tunes on here. So it's a really good album. Right, the next album is the 5th, number 5 in the list. The 5th favorite album that I bought, and this one came out July '83. What's interesting about this album is, I'll show it to you here. It's Joan Jett album. It's a really cool hard rock record from Joan Jett. You know, Trailblazer. You know, I actually just finished watching the documentary Bad Reputation on Joan Jett, and I kind of moved this up one spot. I had Triumph and this one switched, but I did listen to this, and I actually at first I did have this in front of Triumph, but then I switched it, but then I switched it back. So it's interesting how that influenced me. But the documentary was really good. If you get a chance to watch that, it's really fantastic. But this album is interesting because Joan Jett was kind of known, at least on the second album, you know, the I Love Rock and Roll. She was that album is mostly covers, and then there's only a few originals on there. But this album, they did the opposite. There's only 2, I think, cover songs on here, and the rest are originals. And they're all the songs are good. I don't think there's a bad song on here. And the one song that's on here that didn't get released as a single, that was an original that I really think would have hit, is Playing with Fire, and I really, really like that song. I thought that song was really, really good. But yeah, there's some other songs on here. The covers were a song from Sly and the Family Stone, and I forget what the other one was. But anyway, it's a really good Joan Jett record, and I put this one at number 5 of the best albums that I bought. And now we're in the top 4 here. And this one came out February 12th, 81. This is the album from Rush. And this is Moving Pictures. This album is great. The only reason, I mean, this album might have been like my number 1, and I really do love this album. It's just that, in my opinion, side 2 is really lacking on this record. Side 1 is great. Like, it has everything on it. Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, XYZ, and Limelight. All 4 of those songs are amazing. But then side 2, The Camera Eye is good, but Witch Hunt and Vital Signs, those are not, in my opinion, those are not great songs. I mean, I enjoy listening to those songs because they're not the popular hits, but they're just not, they're not the best songs. Rush kind of always had a problem with landing that side 2, you know, like 2112 kind of has a similar vibe for me where, you know, side 2, like 2112 is a masterpiece, and then you kind of flip it over and you get some kind of mediocre songs, I guess, you know, at least in my opinion. So anyway, this is a great record though. I don't have any details from this record except that it's fantastic. And, you know, and a lot of the lyrics, the Limelight especially, Neil Peart was really writing about, you know, everybody knows this, but, you know, he's really writing about his relationship with the fans and being famous, you know, wanting to play music and wanting to be, you know, successful at it and stuff. But, you know, there's a give and take where he was kind of the guy in the group that wasn't as interested in the fame part, and he, you know, he always struggled with the meet and greeting of fans and things like that, and yeah, it's a huge loss, and it's kind of cool though to see this, you know, when I filmed this like just several months ago, Getty and oh shit, what's his name? Guitar player. Getty and Alex played on the. Sometimes when I do these videos, I just forget things. You know, it's plus I'm getting old, but but yeah, they just played on the South Park live show that they did. So they're kind of, you know, it's kind of cool that they're still kind of playing live a little bit. You know, it would be real, you know, I don't know that they'll ever tour again, and yeah, they probably won't, but it was kind of cool to see them still, you know, kind of play live. It was interesting. All right, here we go. Top 3. This one came out April 13th, 1973, and this is a reissue, and that was an original press, or the Rush album was a early press. And so is the Joan Jett. This is a repress from 20, I want to say 13 or something like that, or maybe 2015. 2015, and this is David Bowie, Aladdin Sane. Yeah, I mean, what can you say about Bowie? This is a fantastic record. You know, it has this amazing artwork here. He was creating the Aladdin Sane character, moving away from the Ziggy character. An insert here, and they did a good job recreating this because you also get the club, fan club you can sign up for if you want. I doubt this works anymore. Probably. I mean, it might. I don't know. I think it's just a recreation, but it's still really cool that they put that in there. You know, it's fun when they do the reissues properly like this, or do a good job with, you know, making them as accurate as possible. But yeah, this album is great. Aladdin Sane is a really good record. Many hits on here. Watch That Man, Aladdin Sane, Panic in Detroit, Gene Genie, and Lady Green Soul. Fantastic songs. Great David Bowie record. I don't remember. I'd be curious. I didn't look, but on this version, they have Bowie here instead of RCA, which I think is what would normally be there, which I thought was interesting. I think it's RCA that would normally be there. I think that's the RCA. Anyway, yeah, fantastic record, and it is the third best record that I bought on this month. And number 2, this could have been number 1 if number 1 wasn't number 1. This is my favorite record from this band, and I just listened to this again just to confirm. And this is Uriah Heep. Look at yourself. Look at yourself. You can see my phone. Yeah, this is a UK press. This press is a little bit more expensive than the other presses, but I still got it for like 15 bucks at the store that I bought when I bought it at Lunchbox. But I've seen this online go for a little bit more, and I don't exactly know why it's more expensive. And I mean, really like 30 or 40 bucks, maybe 50 or something. I'm not sure. And the reissue, there's a reissue of this too. So this album it's not hard to get. So I don't think it's really worth what Discogs is showing. But every time I look this album up, this UK press that I have, that's kind of has this gray and blue. If you've seen this album before, sometimes the eyes are even different, but there's also a black or like a dark brown with like a more of like an old style mirror type cover. And I don't know if they have these same pictures on the back either. But yeah, this album, oh my God, does this, I do have this in the rock section, but this is proto metal for sure. This album is heavy and it's loud. Like I play this version on my turntable. It plays really loud. It's not low. It's heavy. And the distortion on here is really good. The keyboards, the Hammond, everything on this album is just fantastic. I really haven't, every song is good. Look at Yourself is great. I Want to Be Free is great. July Morning, of course, is a classic. Tears in My Eyes, Shadows of Grief, What Should Be Done in Love Machine. Love Machine might be the least favorite song, but it's still definitely a really good song. And this is my favorite Uriah Heep record. It really is. I love it. I think it's great. I fell in love with it the first time I heard it, and I really only started really getting deep into Uriah Heep when I started collecting vinyl again too. So, and mine has this weird stereo sticker. I don't know why that's on there, if that was a UK thing. But yeah, this album is so good. Highly recommended if you want a heavy record with some heavy Hammond organs and great vocals, great songs. Uriah Heep, Look at Yourself. And the number 1 record that I got, I was definitely looking for this record when I saw it. It's technically the 6th record from this band, but it's the 2nd with the title, with this name, and it kind of the 2nd in this style for this band. And this is it just was in the bin. It was only 20 bucks too. And this is an original or very early press of T-Rex Electric Warrior. Every song on here is genius. This album is pure genius. This was when Mark Bolan was just, he was hitting on all cylinders. Fantastic. The height of the glam rock movement that was happening. This album is perfect. 100%, 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. Nothing beats this for the month of this month. Every song is great. Mambo Song, Cosmic Dancer, Jeepster, Monolith, Lean Woman Blues, Bang a Gong, Get It On, Planet Queen, Girl, Motivator, Life's a Gas, and Rip Off. Every song. 1971. This was a huge loss when this guy passed away. Even though he wasn't doing much at that time, I think he might have been working on some stuff, and he could have easily kept making records. But yeah, this was the height of T-Rex and the glam, and this is a must-have for everybody. And it is the best record that I bought, my favorite record that I bought in this month. And this came out on the Reprise in the U.S. It's a great album. Perfect. All right, so that's the number one. And I'm going to quickly go through some other records I bought. The rest of these records are, believe it or not, they're all dollar records. I got all of these records, every single one of these records that I'm going to show, except for one of them, I got two of them. I got either at the dollar bin or I bought them at the thrift store. And I'm going to go in order of release dates. This is February 1st, 1972. Fourth album from Neil Young. This is Harvest. Got this as for $1. And this, I mean, I got really lucky with these dollar records. I think that when they were, whoever was putting these in the bin at lunch, most of these I got from Lunchbox Records. Whoever's putting them in the bin, man, I think they just put them in there because they were dirty and maybe they looked bad. This one has the lyric sheet. I know a lot of this version of the record, this is missing. So, this had the lyric sheet, so it wasn't marked down because it didn't have the lyric sheet. It didn't have an insert, but that didn't bother me. And the records, it was just dirty, I mean, it has marks on it and stuff like that, but it plays through fine. And this one came out on Reprise. So, and all of the records that I got here, I mean, at worst, they're VG. At worst, they're VG. But maybe like VG, almost VG plus. Really, I think I still rate these all VG plus. But yeah, I really didn't have any problems with these records when I bought them from as a dollar record. Next record came out August 75. And this one has the same, this is a double album. It has the same thing as the War of the Worlds, where the sides are meant for a record changer. And this is the Grand Funk Railroad Caught in the Act live. And this is okay. I listened to it a couple times. I don't listen to live records that much. Grand Funk is kind of cool. I'm not really proto metal, but kind of, for what they were doing. For how early they were doing, the heavy stuff, I guess. This would be kind of like, I guess if Sabbath is like doom metal, Grand Funk is heavy enough, I think, and sometimes to be considered maybe they influence some new wave British heavy metal bands, like they would be like the typical heavy metal, of the 70s or whatever. Like if you wanted to kind of have a one-to-one comparison, like what rock bands in the 70s could have influenced heavy metal. I think Grand Funk is one of those bands, at least some of their songs. Maybe not everything that Grand Funk did could be considered or could have inspired heavy metal, but at least some of it did. Anyway, not a terrible record, but it's live. I really don't care too much. The next record came out May 21st, 1976. It's the fourth studio album from Blue Oyster Cult. This is Agents of Fortune. It's another dollar record. Like I said, none of these are in terrible shape. This one has Don't Fear the Reaper on it. Other than that, it's just an okay album, I guess. I probably should listen. I didn't listen to this one again before I made the video. I might put it on here in a little bit and see how it fares. But yeah, it's incredibly clean. I don't know why it was in the dollar bin. It didn't have an insert. So I don't know if this has a printed insert that was, I take it back. It even had the printed insert. So it makes even more, it doesn't make even, makes even less sense to me why this was in the dollar bin. like I said, I think that these were just incredibly dirty records, and they were just like, they didn't want to clean them to put them out, you know, as VG plus records in the record bin. Next one is from 1977, not a specific date. The 9th record from, this is Nazareth. This is Expect No Mercy, another dollar record. This record's all right. Had the insert. The album cover on this record is better than anything. And this I think this came out after Hair of the Dog, which is interesting because it sounds, the sound on this record or the type of songs that are on here, it feels to me like it's, you know, it's kind of like more retro, like it's more older. But yeah, I think, I'll put something in the subtitles if it wasn't, but I'm pretty sure this came out after Hair of the Dog, because I think Hair of the Dog was before their 9th album. But yeah, Expect No Mercy, great album cover. Music's okay. I didn't listen to it before I'm showing it, so maybe I'll pop this one on too. Check it out. Next one came out March 9th, 77. This is Derringer Live. It's a dollar record. Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo is on here. It's the last song. Everything else is just okay. I kind of want to get a couple more Derringer records. He was in the glam scene, kind of, so I kind of want to have a Derringer record just because of that. You know, that one record with the green cover. I kind of want to listen to it and see if I like it or not. This live record's all right. It's okay. It's not bad. You know, I don't really like live records that much, but sometimes live records can be like a best of, which isn't bad. You know, if the songs are done pretty close to what they were in the studio, but I definitely prefer studio albums over live. This album I used to play when I was a kid a ton. My mom had it. This came out November 4th, 1977. It's the 8th studio album from Rod Stewart. It's Footloose and Fancy Free. There was like a TikTok thing going on this last year or whatever for, oh, maybe it wasn't this one. Oh, I think it was for Hot Legs. This album is fun. It's a really good record. I used to roller skate in my basement to this album, and I used to like this picture. I thought it was kind of cool that he was drinking a beer. When I was a kid, I was like, oh man, that's really adult. And I also think it was because, you know, my mom and her friends, you know, they would always drink beer, you know, when they hung out at my grandmother's house, which is where we lived at the time. But anyway, this is a great album. I think this has Maggie May on it. No, not Maggie May, but I was only joking it has. I remember thinking, you know, that was a good song. Kind of has like a high school vibe. Keep Me Hanging On is on here. You're in My Heart is a great song, and Hot Legs. This is actually a really good Rod Stewart record. I like this record a lot. And he could have had that Kiss song. He could have had a Kiss song if he wanted, Lucky Woman, but I guess he didn't want it, or they didn't want to give it up. Yeah, this is a really good record. I would recommend having this, but I have a little bit of a bias because, you know, I had it when I was a kid, and I really liked it as a kid, so it's even more nostalgic for me than a lot of my other albums, like Hall & Oates, Private Eyes is like that. That is just a childhood record that, whether it's good or not, it doesn't matter because it's just ingrained in my brain. So it came out October 78. This is the 3rd studio album from Crack the Sky. I did listen to this one today. It's okay. The guy in this band, John Palumbo, he is like the main songwriter singer for every single Crack the Sky record, and there's like 10 or 12 records that they have, except this one. So, and I only have 2 Crack the Sky records. I have the first one and this one, so I'm missing the second one. If I see the second one, I'd probably buy it if it was like $5 or something. But yeah, this is okay. Palumbo has 3 songs on here. Like side 1 is all his songs basically. that he co-wrote maybe with a couple of band members, but then side 2 is all of the rest of the band. And it's all right. I mean, if you like Crack the Sky, you probably like it. It's okay. It's interesting, you know. Some of these records that I have, you know, it's just because I learned of Crack the Sky from Shabby Road Records Show podcast, and you know, I really enjoyed that first album a lot. I think that first album is really good. But everything else after that, I don't know. I'll have to listen to it more. This one was just okay. A couple more. This is a classic. November 78. This is the 6th studio album from the man, the myth, Kenny Rogers, the Gambler. This one, does it have the poster? Yes. So I got lucky. This I got at the thrift store. And it's a pretty good copy. It plays through. A lot of times this, you know, the poster is missing from the Gambler album. So mine had the poster, which was good. So it wasn't, you know, paid 50 cents for this. Probably worth it just for the poster. And yeah, of course, it's got the Gambler. What else? She Believes in Me, I think, was a single. That's about it. I don't remember much from this album. I only listened to it probably once or twice. Probably put it on later. Check it out. United Artists label. ELO had albums on that label. Yeah, of course, The Gambler. Great song, great video, great movie. Kenny Rogers is pretty cool. He was in one movie I liked of his was the NASCAR one where he had the, I think it was called Six Pack or something like that, where he had the 6 kids that were his pit crew. that was a good movie. These were all, like I said, dollar records or 50-cent records from the thrift store. This was a dollar record. This record's kind of beat up. Now this one is a dollar record. It's not in great shape. I remember listening to this and it being incredibly noisy. And I think it's also missing the inner sleeve. And it's Police, Ghost in the Machine. Yeah, there's no insert or anything. So this is definitely, I could probably use a replacement copy for this. I think this is actually the only Police record that I have. I guess I'm not a big Police fan, you know, not enough to, you know, I don't know if you see, but I see synchronicity. I see the Police stuff all the time in the bins. So it's like one of those bands where I'm like, I'll pick it up later, you know. Sometimes I don't want to spend the $5 or $10. And sometimes the records are overpriced, you know. Sometimes you see them for like $15-20 and you're like, what? You know, you see them all the time. So you're like, why are they so much? I don't know if I saw this Police record or any of the other ones, you know, used for $5 in really good shape, I probably would buy them. But they're just not very high on my list at all. October 7th, 81. This is the 2nd studio album from Loverboy. This is Get Lucky. This record actually had a skip in it that I tried to get out, and I think I successfully did get it out using a toothpick. I don't know if you ever tried that before. It was a dollar record, so I was like, you know, I wasn't happy that it had a skip, but I was like, oh, cool, I can try this, you know, toothpick thing on a skip and see what happens. And I believe I got it out. I think it was on Working for the Weekend, too, so what else is on here? When It's Over is on here. Gangs in the Street. Lucky Ones. This is not a bad record. I just saw these guys too. Well, we were walking on our way to the concert. We saw Styx, REO Speedwagon, and Loverboy. And as we were getting close to the arena, Loverboy was playing. So we kind of heard them play. And then we got there. They had like a couple songs left. So we got to see Working for the Weekend. We tried to get there on time, but like the line, like the way to get to the PNC over here, like there's this really narrow street that you got to go down, and it's really a pain in the ass, and traffic just backs up if you're even like 5 minutes late for the show, or you know, if you don't get there like an hour early or whatever. This is the 7th studio album that came out May 21st, 1985, and I paid full price for this one. This is a good one. And I had just, the reason why I kind of bought this and I started buying records from this guy, because I did watch the Eagles documentary. And towards the second half of the Eagles documentary, you know, Joe Walsh joins the Eagles. And Joe Walsh is so fucking cool. I mean, I really hope this guy doesn't have any skeletons in his past that, you know, get him canceled or something, because he is the coolest motherfucker. He is the best guy in the Eagles. And, you know, he knows what he's got. Like the other guitar player, the guy who wants to get paid, you know, who's like, oh, fuck, they don't pay me enough, you know, to go on tour and stuff. Joe Walsh doesn't give a shit. He's like, I'll play fucking guitar for the Eagles and you just pay me whatever the fuck you want. And he'll go out there and play, you know, he'll take the minimum wage, you know, and he is just the coolest guy. I just really kind of appreciate Joe Walsh for who he is. And The Confessor is a great fucking song. I mean, it is a really good song. But yeah, the rest of this, I think I listened to this once and I thought maybe The Confessor was the only good song. But I need to give it a shot. I'll probably have to play this one again. You know, there's a few records here in the back half of this video, the dollar section, that, you know, when you have 2,200 records and you buy a record because you watch a documentary about the Eagles and you like, hey, Joe Walsh is cool, I remember The Confessor, and you play the album and it doesn't like register with you right away, it doesn't come out again. I don't know if that happens to you guys, but it doesn't come out again. So I really have to have a reason to pull this out. Like, I don't know, if somebody starts talking about the Eagles or Joe Walsh again, I'm like, hey, I have a Joe Walsh record. Maybe I'll pull it out and listen to it. But yeah, this is a reason for me to pull it out. Maybe I'll go listen to it. That's it. This is The Rock, 45 minutes. I hope the top 10 thing, you know, I know people probably, maybe some people will just watch the top 10 part. If you made it this far, great. That's awesome. If not, that's fine. I'll create a playlist for all this stuff, including the dollar records, and in case you want to listen to any of the songs. I don't think nobody's listened to these playlists, so whatever. I kind of make them for myself because I'll go back and listen to the playlists. And, you know, it gives me a reason to sometimes put the record on. You know, I'm like, oh, really? This song is really good. You know, I pick a particular song, or I'll pick a song that isn't one of the hits sometimes. That'll get me to listen to the record. Anyway, thanks if you watched, and let me know maybe if the top 10 thing works better. I think I'm going to do that whenever I have a lot. That way, if people don't want to watch the whole thing, they can just watch the top 10 part. All right, bye.